Welcome back. All right, so months, I think it was January, before we got into the pause. So months. The NHL projected that the salary cap could go up to as high as $84 million dollars or higher. Probably 83 and a half, maybe 84 million, maybe a little bit over 84 million. And there was a lot of talk about how high the revenues were and how good things were. So general managers were planning things that way when they were talking about extensions, when they were figuring out next year's budgets. They were going, okay, salary cap's going to go up. Then we get the pause in March, and everything's been chaos since then when it comes to salary cap issues, right? So the NHL is looking at this coming season and saying, okay, 82 game schedule. Teams are able to cross the border, no problem, right? That's changed from where it was this past season, where teams weren't able to cross the border, and the NHL's lost a lot of money along the way. So what they're estimating in season ticket or well in ticket price losses or revenues lost, $3.5 billion. So $3.5 billion, it's a lot when you consider the league brings in $4.8 billion a year. That's where they were at the time that this all kind of blew up last March, right? Now, Seattle's coming in. That $625 million dollars that's split between 30 teams, Vegas not included. That expansion fee not shared with the players. So it doesn't have any kind of impact on money owed by the players or anything like that. That's straight into the owners' pockets. So that's why Seattle's going to get a decent team, and owners don't really care because they made about $20 million dollars each. $625 million dollars divided by 30 equals I'm getting a new yacht. So yeah, but 3.5 billion in ticket sales lost means even if that 625 million had been thrown into the into the pot that both the owners and the players get to pick from, it doesn't make a big difference. Not really. And when the NHL came out of the pause, I really thought with the new collective bargaining agreement they were going to drop the salary cap. I thought you have to drop the salary cap. You are not generating that 4.8 billion anymore. You're going to generate a lot less than that. You need to bring that cap down by a lot. And whether that means you get compliance buyouts, which means you can buy out a contract with no worries of any kind of penalty. There's no tack on penalty. Buy out, say, 2 different contracts on your team just to get under the cap. That's fine. But you've got to bring that cap down. They said no. We're going to make it so that cap stays at 81.5 million. Whatever shortfall we have, that money will be owed. That money will be owed by players, and the owners just don't make that money then. So we'll get the money from the players. We'll have a high escrow, which means money taken off their paychecks, and we'll do whatever we have to keep that salary cap the same, while the actual money paid out is a lot less. Now, in order for this model to work, we as ticket buyers need to be buying tickets. And now what NHL executives are concerned about is people may not buy tickets like they were before the shutdown in March of 2020. So 3.5 billion lost. Well, if you get all your season ticket holders back, you're going to get a lot of that back. But what they're finding is people who are renewing their season tickets might be renewing for a quarter season, for half. Myself, for the Canucks, I'm looking at a quarter season. And when I talk to them, I want to make it so that it's for nights where there aren't as many games in the NHL, so that I'm not missing a lot when I'm not here watching games. And I also want to make it so that as much as I can, it's the cheaper tickets. It's your Arizonas, New Jersey. Who else is a cheap ticket to see? I don't think Buffalo was expensive last season. I know St. Louis is a cheap team to see too. I'm not sure why St. Louis, but again, it's a demand thing, right? So Vancouver, not every game is created equal. So some tickets you can get for cheap, and some are really expensive. So Calgary, Edmonton, basically Canadian teams that aren't Ottawa or Winnipeg are really expensive. Ottawa, pretty cheap to go and see Vancouver play against Ottawa, usually. Now, if other people are thinking like I am, which is, well, we want to save some money on this, which apparently is what's going on, the NHL's worried that they may see full buildings in October. They may see less than full buildings beyond that. Fans are excited to go back and watch sports, but do they want to watch 41 games in their home market? I don't know that I'd have the energy. I think that if I lived in Vancouver, in the city itself, maybe. Like, I might. But again, it would have to be some kind of a corporate thing through, like if I had a job in Vancouver where I had there's company tickets, something like that. I don't know that I would want to go to 41 games. I don't know that I could do it. I think that would be tough. And I know there's people who do it every year and have done it for a very long time and they can't wait to go back. But for others, it's more likely they're going to look to half or quarter season. And for me, again, it's quarter season's what I'm looking at. And so the NHL would be very concerned. People may not have the same disposable income they had before March of 2020. Or what they've learned is, with sports being shut off for a few months there, they want to spend their money elsewhere. Maybe they want to spend more time with friends and family than what they were before. Maybe they want to, go on a vacation that they can afford if they don't buy these season tickets. So for the NHL, they may have to get creative. I know people bring up the US TV agreement, but the US TV agreement, by my count, the two packages put together equal $625 million a year for the NHL. It's great to have that revenue. It means they're losing less money. But you split that in half, so that's, a little over $300 million that goes to the players. And if you're losing a lot of money on tickets, I don't know that it necessarily offsets it. Plus, the NHL wants to get back to that $4.8 billion a year plus figure. That one that they were looking at before the pause that was going to bring their salary cap up to the $84 million range. So word that maybe they bump it by $1 million next year. I don't know how they can justify that. I find that bewildering because players aren't making the money that they're signing contracts for now. And maybe on some level, maybe that's why we're starting to see ridiculous amounts of money being paid to players. Think about it. So Darnell Nurse gets a $9.5 million a year extension. But in actual take-home money, maybe that contract's only worth $7 million before other deductions are taken off because you have escrow. And you have money that's owed to the league that he's not getting paid. Like, you have maybe a situation where players are getting more money on their contract because the general manager's looking at it and going, well, your actual money's going to be this. And the agent says, well, then we don't accept this contract. So this could get really complicated if that's part of it. And I don't know that it is, but I wouldn't be overly surprised if it was. If players aren't looking at things like escrow and the drop in their salary to try to make up for the shortfall to the $81.5 million cap and saying, well, then I want to make more money because then it's going to make up the difference. So it is kind of a mess, and the US TV deal will just help to mitigate some of that. But if they don't get back to that kind of ticket price or that kind of ticket sales, they're in trouble. And that, again, I've been mentioning this lately, that's where the whole gambling side comes in, right? Because that might help to make up the difference too. So as much as it's a slippery slope, absolutely. Is that, a really family-friendly thing to be sitting with your 6-year-old who's saying, so, he's sitting there, so, okay, Dad, the prop bet says this, and I think, here's the probabilities of this. Wow, my 6-year-old's a bookie. And just from watching hockey, there's a slippery slope there. But it may happen in other sports, too, and I'm pretty sure it already has in some. And, football is it's a generating machine when it comes to the gambling side of it, right? And so we may also see where certain fans may say, well, my priorities have changed. We may see certain markets where tickets just aren't selling. Maybe the local economy isn't very good, and so people just aren't paying to go and see games. That's happened before, where a local economy gets hurt, and suddenly sports franchises are really negatively impacted. And sometimes teams end up moving because of negative impacts to the local economy. So an owner might say, wow, it sucks what's going on here, and I feel bad for people, but I can make more money there than I can here. And again, we just don't know where that might be. I know people will mention Arizona, Florida, all the usual suspects. It could be somebody completely out of left field. That, again, the local economy gets hit really hard. And it takes a while for it to recover. And an owner says, I'm losing a lot of money here. And the NHL looks and goes, hey, we're losing a lot of money. We've got to figure out how to generate more income. So we will see how this all turns out. But again, just personally, I totally understand why people would say 41 games. I can't do it. I can't do it right now. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. If you're a season ticket holder, are you just as gung-ho about going to every game right now? Or are you in a position where either financially you're not able to do that, or maybe your priorities have changed. Maybe you had more time with family and friends, and you're like, yeah, I don't know that I want to be spending 3 hours a night, 41 nights a year during the regular season, then maybe even more during the playoffs. If I, can watch from home and, enjoy it with friends and family, that kind of thing, right? And it's a lot cheaper, obviously, to watch from home, and that can be appealing as well. I've often heard it said, "Oh, hockey's terrible on TV. You have to see it live." Yes, the speed of the game is much better if you see it live, but there are things in the game that you don't see when you're there that you will see on television, and it is interesting, the difference between the experience live and seeing it on TV, and I think there's benefits to both. I honestly enjoy both ways of watching the game. Well, let me know your thoughts. Because this is a league that's driven very much by gate revenue. More than half of its revenues come from that. And if that's negatively impacted, does that do it? Like, at some point, wouldn't they have to drop the cap? Like, I know they don't want to. I get it. They had a chance coming out of the pause, and they went, nah. And it is strange, because I really thought that would have been the most logical way to go about it. Because right from the beginning, it felt like they were going, okay, so we're going to bounce right back. Right? As soon as then we're going to go right back, and everything's going to be great. And I just don't know that it necessarily is going to work that way. Maybe it does. Maybe we revisit this in a year, and everything's fantastic. The salary cap's gone up, and every team sold out every game all year. We'll see. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.